Chapter 806. Changli and the assistant were obviously used to Ning Shualua's low pressure and bad temper these days. They tried not to say anything to reduce their presence so that they would not be implicated. "Ling, how's Grandpa?" Ning Shualua asked the maid. "Miss, the old master is doing well. He went fishing with Elder Shi this morning and came back in the evening. He seems to be in good spirits too. How's the investigation I asked you to do?" "I've already checked. During the days that Master was in the hospital, apart from the family members and a few shareholders of the company, no one suspicious went there." "What about Ning Shi?" "The nurse said she went there a few times, but only to see the old master and chat with him. She didn't do anything special." "All right, I got it." Ning Shualua hung up after the call. She looked even worse. What was going on? The old master was dying the day before. Why did he suddenly get better and better? He even went to the company for a shareholders meeting yesterday. Those shareholders who were ready to switch sides to Ning Yahua's side when they saw that the old master was about to die. But when they saw that the old master was still healthy, they all gave up on the idea and held back. Although Ning Yahua was the one managing the company, the real power and shares were still in the old master's hands. Not only was the situation at home a mess, but history had been having problems ever since the Golden Apex Awards. After the Fashion Week, Ling had snatched more than a dozen big orders. Although these orders were just a drop in the bucket for them, it was definitely not a good sign if Ling was allowed to continue to grow stronger. However, the most important thing right now was to do the most important thing. Her top priority was to gain a huge network of connections through the entertainment industry. She couldn't afford to lose this position. "How's Ning Shi doing recently? What movie did she get?" Ning Shualua asked cautiously. "She just got a supporting role in a movie. How many resources can she get?" "I heard that she was interested in the female lead of a movie, but Liang Biqin took her away." "Don't worry, as long as Su Yimo is there, she won't have a good time in Golden Era," Changli said. Ning Shualua's expression softened a little. "Help me take on more literary films with positive images. The director must be an award-winning one. The pay doesn't matter." Changli immediately understood what Ning Shualua meant. Although indie films were unpopular and the box office was low, it was easy to win awards. In the past, Ning Shualua would not have bothered to accept it. However, Ning Shualua's current popularity was enough. What she lacked was a heavyweight award. Under the Heavens, which had an unknown future, was far from enough. In the Yangtze River, the waves behind drive on the waves before. There were too many young stars in the same generation, and all of them wanted to go one step further and become more powerful. The competition for the next Golden Horse Awards would definitely be fierce. "Got it. I'll try my best to help you pick it up." Changli agreed, but in fact, she had her own difficulties. This was because Ning Shualua had been too eager for success and instant benefits. She had acted in too many commercial films and television dramas that had poor box office ratings. Although her popularity among the people was quite high, her entire standard had been pulled down. Directors who were really aiming for awards would not be willing to find someone like Ning Shualua, even if they were to find an unknown newcomer. Chapter 807. A few days later, the interview was broadcast and the effect was very good. Other than Zhao Xizhou and Jiang Mai's fans, who were arguing over who would get more screen time and who would get less screen time, Zhao Xizhou and Jiang Mai's fans started a routine dispute. In the end, Ning Shi's performance unexpectedly caught the attention of many fans. "Ning Shi is so low-key, haven't you noticed?" That fourth and fifth female lead kept interrupting others to gain more screen time. Ning Shi, a real second female lead, didn't even say anything. She only spoke when it was her turn to ask questions, and she answered them all very well. "Her EQ is so high. I'm going to become her fan." "That's not the point. The point is her looks, okay? Important things must be repeated 3 times. I'm already a fan of them." "Hands up. I'm a fan of the CP. I also noticed a small detail. Look at the camera. Jiang Mai's eyes are on Ning Shi most of the time. I don't believe they have nothing to do with each other." Because of this interview, Ning Shi's Weibo began to gain a new round of fans. Plus the fans she gained during the screening of The World, Ning Shi now had a considerable number of fans. Most of the comments were asking her to post photos or asking her about Jiang Mai's situation. Of course, Ningxi wouldn't use another star to gain popularity, even if that person was Jiang Mai. However, taking selfies was too boring, so Ningxi posted some photos of herself as a spy. Originally, she just wanted to post her daily hobbies and relax on Weibo. Unexpectedly, the response was so good that she gained a large number of fans. In the building of Shengshi Entertainment, these are the scripts that were just sent here. Go back and have a look. Lin Jiji handed a pile of scripts to Ning Shi. After the release of The World, Ning Shi finally had a representative work with a good reputation. The two supporting roles, Ming Chang'e and Sun Huanqing, were no less popular than the main characters, so the number of scripts sent to Lin Jiji's case also increased. Perhaps it was because Ning Shi had portrayed the role of Ming Chang'e so perfectly. She had been asked to play the role of a beautiful demon concubine, the most beautiful woman in the world, or a beautiful vixen. Most of the roles were for the second or third female lead. Occasionally, she would be asked to play the role of the female lead in a small production. Ningxi put away the scripts. Okay, I'll go back and take a good look at them. Lin Jiji pinched between her eyebrows, hesitated for a while, and then said, in addition, Jiang Mai is shooting a new film recently, and there is a small role in which he doesn't have many scenes. Liang Biqin was originally supposed to play the role, but she is shooting another film and has no time to play the role. Now there is no suitable candidate for the role, so I want you to go and answer an urgent call. Jiang Mai's new play. The one directed by Shin Mian? Sure, of course, no problem. Ningxi readily agreed. Even a cameo role in director Shin's movie was an honor, not to mention a role that could show one's face. Besides, Jiang Mai had helped her a lot. It was not a big deal for her to save him. When Liang Biqin took the small supporting role, she was not as famous as she was now. Now that she was famous and had accepted a big production from a famous director with a huge salary, how could she still be interested in such a small role? Lin Jiji handed her a script. There aren't many scenes, so it should be finished soon. I've already singled out your part. Chapter 808. Because the crew was in a hurry, Ning Shi and Lin Jiji discussed it for a while and then rushed to the set with Xiao Tao. She was going to play the role of Jiang Mai's deceased first love. There was only one scene before their death, so it was quite simple. If everything went well, it would be over in a day. Why are you here? Jiang Mai looked at her suspiciously. Big sister Jiji asked me to come and help. Ning Shi replied. Jiang Mai turned his eyes to Lei Ming. Lei Ming coughed and mumbled. You've seen more than a dozen scenes and you're still not satisfied. I had no choice but to ask Jiji for help. Ning Shi was speechless. I'm speechless. There was only one scene from the beginning to the end. The director didn't even say anything. Why are you so picky? What's wrong with one scene? She's my first love. Jiang Mai said with a self-righteous expression. Ning Shi's mouth twitched. Let me correct you. She was my first love in the play. She was really speechless about Jiang Mai. She had never seen an actor who was so difficult to please. In a play, the male and female leads were often more powerful than the director and producer. Shin Mian couldn't do anything to him. Shin Mian was in his early 30s. He started to act as soon as he graduated from college. His first work, Stars, Moon, and Sun, became popular all over the country and was named Asian Star by American Business Weekly. The female lead in the film was so popular that she was now one of the top stars in the entertainment industry. Later, the youth film Love in the Future won the box office that year and led to a large number of youth films. Shin Mian was a very talented director. She always liked to shoot something unexpected. Whether it was the script or the actors, she had a very good eye for talent. It was a pity that although the films he had made in the past few years were not bad, none of them could surpass those two films. Some people even said that he had run out of ideas. Ningxi felt it was a pity, but she also knew that for a director like Shin Mian, this was an inevitable compromise after she entered the circle. Director Shin, he's here. Can you have a look? Lei Ming ran to the director and said, What's the use of me having a look? Is that kid willing? Shin Mian and Jiang Mai had worked together several times, and they had a good relationship in private, so they spoke casually. Everything's fine on our side. I'm just waiting for your nod. Lei Ming said hurriedly. If he had a choice, he wouldn't have borrowed people from Lin Jiji. Every time he was stuck between Jiang Mai and the director, it was very difficult for him. Oh? Shin Mian, who was busy with work, finally walked over. Seeing the director, Ningxi immediately greeted him. Hello, Director Shen. I'm Ningxi. Shin Mian looked Ningxi up and down. Ningxi, you're the second female lead in Director Was the World, right? Ningxi didn't expect Chen Mian to know her, so she was happy. Yes. No wonder this fellow has no objections. I've seen your movie. Jiang Mai's acting skills are at their peak. Shin Mian couldn't help but take another look at the girl in front of her. From the audience's point of view, they only saw that the two were a good match and cooperated well with each other. They also saw the change of Jiang Mu's wild acting. However, he had worked with Jiang Mai several times. He could tell at a glance that this woman must have some skills to improve Jiang Mai's acting skills to such an extent. Chapter 809. After confirming that there were no problems, Shun Mian began to talk to Ningxi about the scene. The scene went very smoothly. They finished it in 3 takes. The other 2 takes were for different angles. At last, Shun Mian looked back at the scene in the camera and sighed with emotion. No wonder Master Guo praised this newcomer so many times in the director circle. After the shooting, Ningxi changed into casual clothes for convenience. After all, more and more people knew her now. Ningxi had been very busy these 2 days. Finally, she took the opportunity to pick her up. Jiang Mai immediately ran over to stop her with shining eyes. Do you want to play with me tonight? I only need 3 more rounds to advance. I can't lose. What do I get if I help you advance? Ningxi slightly raised her eyebrows. You want me to get something for such a small thing? Are we still brothers? Jiang Mai, tomorrow. Shun Mian was about to talk to Jiang Mai. She was stunned when she saw the young man beside him. Your friend? Jiang Mai's mouth twitched. Director, you just met this guy, okay? Ningxi coughed lightly and shook her hand. Director, it's me. Shun Mian was stunned and looked like she had seen a ghost. You are Ningxi? The young man in front of her was wearing a black leather motorcycle suit. He had neat short hair and unruly eyebrows. Obviously, he was a man who didn't look like Jiang Mai, but if you looked carefully, you would find that it was indeed Ningxi's face. Why was it that the same person, with just a change of clothes and a change of makeup, would have such a huge difference in change? This kind of change in temperament from the inside to the outside was not something that could be achieved by changing clothes and wearing a wig. Even acting couldn't be so natural and perfect. Well, being an actor is too restrictive, so I have to think of a way. Director, you know? Ningxi showed a tacit expression. After changing into this man's suit after work, Ningxi's tone and expression naturally changed. Those who didn't know her would think that there was a free and unruly man living in her body. Shin Mian couldn't describe the feeling deep in her heart at this moment. It was the kind of excitement that she hadn't felt for a long time. Director Shin, what's wrong? Ningxi's hair stood on end from that fiery gaze. Displeased, Jiang Mai waved his hand in front of Shun Mian, interrupting her line of sight. Hey, Director Shin, don't tell me you like men. What kind of gaze was that? Shin Mian swatted his hand away. Get lost. If I liked men, you'd be the first one I'd sleep with. Ningxi burst into laughter. She didn't expect Shun Mian to be like this in private. Shin Mian didn't know what was going on. Ever since she saw Ningxi, she had been in a state where she could go berserk at any moment. He took out a cigarette and took a deep puff. Then he took out another one and handed it to Ningxi. Do you smoke? The blue veins on Jiang Mai's forehead bulged. Shin Mian, what the hell are you doing? Ningxi smiled and refused. Director, I quit smoking. Please don't seduce me. Shin Mian stubbed out the cigarette and ran straight ahead. As she ran, she turned her head and said to Ningxi, Wait for me, don't go yet. A moment later, under the confused gazes of Ningxi and Jiang Mai, Shun Mian pulled his assistant over. Chapter 810. Shin Mian's assistant was a young girl in her 20s. She was sorting out the props and was stunned when she was suddenly pulled over. She gasped, Director, why are you in such a hurry? Shin Mian stared at Ningxi with fire in her eyes. Then she glanced at her watch and pointed at the assistant. I'll give you 10 seconds to make her fall in love with you. If you can do it, I promise I'll make you a hit. At this moment, Ning Shi, Jiang Mai, the assistant, what? Make a girl fall in love with another girl? Was Shun Mian crazy? While Jiang Mai and his assistant were totally confused, Ning Shi had already sensed something in advance. That was an opportunity. The moment Mian started the countdown, Ning Shi grabbed the assistant's hand and sat down on a large prop chair behind her. Then, she pulled the assistant onto her lap. The little assistant exclaimed subconsciously, but Ning Shi frowned and stopped her with a serious look. Don't move. Then Ning Shi carefully took off the assistant's high heels and looked at the swollen part of her ankle. Less than 10 seconds had passed, and Ning Shi had only said don't move from the beginning to the end. Staring at the man's tense side face and the love in his eyes, the assistant's heart was beating fast and her face was flushed. She couldn't even speak. Shin Mian looked at her and said, You passed the test? Now, come with me. Ningxi helped the assistant take off her high heels and put on her flat sneakers. Then she helped the assistant stand up and stood up herself. She replied to Shen Mian, Okay. Jiang Mai, who was completely ignored, was speechless. Damn it, Shen Mian, where are you taking her? Shen Mian had already driven Ningxi away like a gust of wind. Behind them, the assistant was still staring at the direction of Shen Mian's car. Senior Jiang, who is that handsome guy? Is the director going to choose him as the male lead of the new show? Oh my god, he's so charming. My heart almost jumped out of my chest when he held me and helped me change my shoes. Jiang Mai's face darkened. Are you blind? That was a girl just now. That's impossible. The assistant was shocked. Jiang Mai rolled his eyes at her. What do I get out of lying to you? The assistant covered her blushing face. Wow, he's so handsome. It doesn't matter if he's a woman. Oh no, am I turning gay? Jiang Mai, Shun Mian took Ning Shi to her company. Sit. Ning Shi casually glanced around the office. There weren't any stills or works of art. Shin Mian's office was unusually simple. All that was pasted on the wall were character diagrams and photos of the actors and actresses. I have a script that has been backlogged for 3 years because I haven't been able to find a suitable female lead. I could have found a few popular artists and cooked them all together. The box office earnings wouldn't be too bad, but I can't bear to part with this script, Shin Mian said as she opened the bottom drawer with a key and took out a script. The pages of the script had already turned yellow. It was obvious that someone had read it many times. Ningxi carefully took the script and read the outline. After reading it, he finally understood why Shin Mian had acted so strangely just now. She dressed up as a man? Chapter 811. Yes, have you read Shakespeare's Twelfth Night? Shin Mian asked. Ningxi's eyes lit up and she nodded.
Yes.
It was one of Shakespeare's classic comedies, and it was also Ningxi's favorite one of Shakespeare's comedies. It was about a pair of twin brothers who got separated in a shipwreck and thought each other was dead. The younger sister disguised herself as a man and became the Duke's servant. She fell in love with the Duke, but the Duke was deeply in love with another countess. The younger sister ran errands for the Duke to woo the countess, but the Duke fell in love with the younger sister who disguised herself as a man and rejected the Duke. The most important character in the play was the courageous, passionate, and pure younger sister. She disguised herself as a man and stayed by her sweetheart's side. She loved him silently and chased after him for him, but at the same time, hinted to him that she loved him very much. The other female character in the play was the countess whom the male lead fell in love with. She was smart, beautiful, kind-hearted, loyal and persistent, and cherished friendship. She rejected the love of the noble Duke and fell in love with the female lead, who was just a servant. In the end, she courted the twin brother who she mistook for the younger sister. The two female leads got what they wanted and got their own happiness. It was a very positive and beautiful work. This script is based on Shakespeare's Twelfth Night, but it's set in modern times, so it's more in line with modern people's tastes. However, I don't want to make it into a simple urban idol drama, so I have high expectations for the actors, Shun Mian explained. Ningxi nodded to show that she understood. At the same time, a fire was ignited in her heart. Chen Mian's script was definitely much better than the one she had read before. She had only read the previous script because there were a lot of exciting scenes to play with, but she still had her own selfish motives. But this one was much better in terms of plot and moral. Moreover, Chin Mian had worked on it for 3 years. Chin Mian looked at the dusk outside the window. He was only in his early 30s, but his face looked as if he had aged a long time ago. It was as if all his passion had been exhausted. He said mockingly, "When I first entered the industry, I was full of passion, for art, for dreams. But now, do you know how people make movies nowadays? It's not the director or the scriptwriter who decides what to shoot, it's the investors." As for the director, he was not a creator. At best, he was just a puppet, a worker. Artist? That's all bullshit. Ningxi didn't know what to say. This was the state of the industry, and it wasn't something that 1 or 2 people could change. In the end, even a talented director like Shen Mian had to compromise. However, Shen Mian was still unwilling to give up. Ningxi, there are some things that I have to make clear to you in advance. I'm planning to shoot this film on my own. I won't accept any investment, so the pay won't be too high. Furthermore, everyone, including you, will be using newcomers. Therefore, the risk is very high, and it's very likely that it will fail. Even the reputation that under the heavens that you've worked so hard to build up will be destroyed. So, you have to think carefully about whether you want to accept it or not, Shen Mian said with a hint of nervousness in her eyes. It wasn't easy for him to meet Ningxi. He was prepared to go all out, but he had no right to ask others to go crazy with him. Chapter 8:12. Hearing this, Ningxi smiled and stood up. She stretched out her hand to Shen Mian. Her eyes were clear and bright. "Director Shen, you've bet 10 years of your career as a director. It's just the world, so I'm the winner. And to be honest, I've been waiting for this script for a long time. So, there's no need to think about it. Director Shen, it's a pleasure working with you." Shen Mian was surprised, and then reached out to shake the girl's hand. "It's a pleasure working with you." Because it was a dream that had never been extinguished in his heart, he attached so much importance to it that he couldn't allow it to have any flaws. His ambition made him want an actress like Hilary Swank, who had won an Oscar in Boys Don't Cry, who could act so well that it was hard to tell whether she was a man or a woman. But nowadays, those young stars and internet celebrities were popular. How could he ask them to dress up as a man? It would be a blockbuster. He would rather keep the script in the drawer for the rest of his life than touch it. However, just when he had completely compromised with reality and was taking a lot of money from investors every day to shoot commercial blockbusters that made his heart not waver, he just happened to see Ningxi, and he saw his unwillingness that had not been extinguished. Shen Mian pondered for a moment and then said seriously, "Maybe I should treat Jiang Mai to a meal. If he wasn't so hard to please, I wouldn't have met you." "Well, I really can't refute that." Ningxi laughed. "It seems that I have to treat him to a meal too. Do you usually dress like this?" Chun Mian asked. At the same time, she glanced at Ningxi. Ningxi's facial features were exquisite, but there was not a trace of femininity in her demeanor or appearance. "Not really. I only dress like this when I need to. When she was abroad, she used to dress up as a man. After coming back, she rarely wore it, but she had gotten used to it and the feeling was still there." "You are very natural. It even makes me feel that you have always been like this. You don't even need to use your acting skills." Shan Mian looked at her inquisitively. "Originally, I planned to let the lead actress prepare at least a month in advance and dress up as a man so that she can fully get into character. It seems that you don't need to do that. I've observed you, and you get into character quickly." Ningxi actually wanted to say that she really didn't know how to act. After she put on men's clothes, she naturally became like this. However, in this drama, she would have to play 2 roles. Not only would she have to play the female lead, but she would also have to play the female lead's twin brother. Therefore, the pressure was quite great. She really needed to prepare and study the characters. "The movie I'm working on will be finished in a few days. After that, I'll start casting. You can use this time to prepare. If there's anything you don't understand or need help with, feel free to come to me. Keep your phone connected. I'll contact you to join the crew when everything is ready." "All right, I got it. Thank you," Director Shun, one last thing. In order to avoid interference, I'm going to keep the filming a secret and not do any publicity. Do you have any problems with that? No problem. After leaving Chen Mion's place, she couldn't wait to tell Lin Jiji the news. Lin Jiji was very happy for her and said that she would fully support her and discuss the details of the cooperation with the other side as soon as possible. Finally, Ningxi's new show was officially confirmed. Chapter 813. In a private room at the Royal Duke Hotel. This year, with so many blockbusters and great actors, The World, a historical TV series, had successfully finished third in the box office of the year. The crew gathered everyone and held a celebration party. In addition to the director, producer, scriptwriter, and cameraman, Ning Xuelua, Zhao Xizhou, Jiang Mai, Feng Yiba, and several other main actors were all there. The agents of the main leads were also there. There were dozens of people in the big room. When Ningxi arrived at the private room, she greeted everyone and exchanged greetings with them one by one. Then she was immediately called to a corner by Jiang Mai. Tell me the truth. Why did Shen Mian call you there? Jiang Mai stared at her seriously as if he was interrogating a criminal. Ningxi rolled her eyes. Why are you so nervous? What could he do to me? Haha, who would dare to do that to you? If he did, I would see the headline of the famous director Shen Mian dying at home. Ningxi was speechless. Am I that scary? Don't talk nonsense with me. I'm serious. What did Shen Mian call you for? He knew Shen Mian well enough to know that he wasn't a director who would do such a thing. However, Shen Mian's state in the afternoon was really not right. Oh, speaking of this, I have to thank you. My new film has been confirmed. Ningxi said as she poured a glass of wine for Jiang Mai. Shen Mian's? Jiang Mai raised his eyebrows. Yes. Which script? Dream Seeker. Fuck. Ning Xiaoxi, good job. That guy actually gave you his trump card? Jiang Mai was obviously a little surprised. I've read that script before. I really wanted to take it, but he said he couldn't find a suitable female lead. He's been looking for one for more than 3 years. Jiang Mai recalled the plot of the script and suddenly understood why Shen Mian liked Ningxi. What kind of luck did this lass have? This TV series was tailor-made for her. Who was the male lead? Jiang Mai asked immediately. Ningxi seemed to see through his thoughts and glanced at him. Don't even think about it. Director Shan said to use all the newcomers. It's impossible for you. Jiang Mai clicked his tongue. It seems that Shen Mian really wants to support you. After all, this is a drama with a female lead. If the male lead chooses me, my halo will easily overwhelm the female lead. That's why he's using a newcomer. Ningxi listened and felt that it made sense. Apart from that, he probably wants to return to his original state and follow his heart. He wants to get rid of all impurities and start all over again. Didn't his famous work use all the rookies? Can the film market now be compared to 10 years ago? Back then, it was an era where geniuses came forth in large numbers. How many classics were produced? Now look again. How many are left? In short, it's very risky. Jiang Mai muttered to himself. Ningxi raised her eyebrows. I like challenges. Jiang Mai had already guessed that she would say that. He patted her on the shoulder and said, although it's really risky, maybe we can achieve a miracle. Anyway, good luck. Thank you. Thank you. Ningxi raised her glass and clinked it with him. They were chatting and drinking when the door of the box opened and the producer, Wang Taihe, walked in. After some small talk, director Guo Qixing hurried over, pulled him aside and asked, how did it go? Did you invite Boss Lu? Chapter 814. Wang Taihe replied, I just made a phone call. Mr. Lu said he would come later. As for Mr. Lu, I don't think he will come. Although Guo Qixing was a little disappointed, he still nodded and said, it's good enough to invite Mr. Lu. He is so busy. How could he come to our small celebration party? 50 million yuan was a big investment for them, but for Lu Tingxiao, it was just a drop in the bucket. Maybe he had already forgotten about it. Who are you talking about? Someone in the corner of the room asked curiously. Who else could it be? The investors of our drama, of course. Ning's International Group? What Ning's International? Are you drunk? Because of Ning Shualua's incident, Ning's International and Starlight withdrew their investments. Later, Lu Jingli from Shengshi Entertainment spent 50 million yuan, and then Lu Group spent another 50 million yuan. That's why we continued to shoot the show. Oh, right, look at my brain. Now the world is so popular and the investors have made several times the money they invested. Ning's International Group and Starlight must be regretting it so much. Isn't that right? Back then, he threatened the crew with the threat of withdrawing his investment. But now, all his efforts were in vain. Hearing the comments around her, Ning Shualua's face darkened in the shadows. If it hadn't been for Ning Shi, the huge profits brought by the show would have all gone to Starlight and Ning's International Group. Then her status in the company and at home would have been even higher. But now, she had nothing. She, the leading actress, was suppressed in every aspect during the publicity. She had to take Ning Shi, the supporting actress, with her everywhere. Ahem, Shualua. Actually, we didn't lose anything. Think about it this way. They spent double the money, but in the end, you are the one who is supported. Changli saw Ning Shualua's displeasure and hurriedly comforted her. Ning Shualua would have listened to these words before, but now she was irritated. Supported? They are obviously using my popularity to support Ning Shi. In the beginning, she, the heroine of the world, was indeed the most popular one, but as the movie went on, Ning Shi became more and more popular. Both on the internet and by professional critics gave her very high comments, and some even said that Ning Shi should be the real heroine of this movie. Besides, Ning Shi had a good relationship with Lu Jingli and Jiang Mai. Her career was getting smoother and smoother. How could she take it lying down? Chang Li's face stiffened. She thought to herself, you're not as good as Ning Shi. As the female lead, you can't even suppress Ning Shi's limelight. How can you blame others? Oh, by the way, I've already helped you negotiate for Director Zhou's artistic film. The contract will go through next week. Chang Li changed the topic. Ning Shualua's expression finally calmed down. After 3 rounds of drinks, the door of the private room was suddenly pushed open. Yo, it's so lively. The newcomer was dressed in a flashy ice cream blue suit. His bangs were messy and unruly, and his peach blossom eyes seemed to be electrifying. When he smiled, his entire body seemed to glow. As soon as he appeared, he was like a powerful light source that attracted everyone's attention. Aya, second young master is here. Quick, come in and have a seat. The producer and director welcomed them first. Oh, it's the CEO of Golden Era, Lu Jingli. He's even more handsome in real life than in the magazines and newspapers. If second young master enters the entertainment industry, there will be no other male stars left. I'm so envious of the artists of Golden Era. Can we see them in real life more often? Chapter 8:15. Amidst the screams of the young girls, Lu Jingli chuckled and said some pleasantries to everyone. His words were humorous and witty, and he quickly got along well with everyone. The girls were all cheered by him. Gosh, second child is so approachable. He doesn't put on airs at all. The most important thing is that he is so handsome. Even in front of a superstar like Jiang Mai, he is not inferior. After all, Lu Jingli was the boss of Shengshi Entertainment. After entering the room, he naturally sat between Jiang Mai and Ning Shi. Seeing this, everyone took it for granted and didn't have any objection. They were just a little envious. In front of Lu Jingli, Ning Shualua's identity was really a little embarrassing. After a few casual greetings, she stopped talking and could only watch everyone looking at Ning Shi with envy. Ning Shi looked at Lu Jingli speechlessly, who insisted on squeezing between her and Jiang Mai. She pretended to respect the boss and said in a low voice, Lu Air, there are so many seats over there. Can't you sit with Jiang Mai? Lu Jingli crossed his legs. No, I just like to sit between you. Ning Shi, the crazy protector of his brother, was online again. By the way, I just heard that producer Wang also invited Lu Tingxiao. Will he come tonight? Ning Shi asked casually. Lu Jingli took a sip of his wine, his peach blossom eyes reflecting the flickering lights. With a mischievous expression, he said, Beg me, Beg me and I'll tell you. Ning Shi's mouth twitched. Is it fun to keep me guessing? Then Ning Shi took out her cell phone and sent a message to Lu Tingxiao. Honey, will you come to the celebration party of the world tonight? Lu Jingli's originally proud and handsome face immediately darkened, and he complained, Fuck, you broke the rules. You can't play like this. Ning Shi rolled her eyes at him. Do you make the rules? I'm just playing like this. What's wrong with you? Soon, Lu Tingxiao replied. It depends on the situation. There is a dinner party here. Ning Shi rolled her eyes, narrowed her eyes like a little fox, and replied, Oh, okay, don't drink too much also. Don't flirt with girls, not even a glance. No, I'm not as good looking as you. Lu Tingxiao replied. Ning Shi immediately covered her face. When Ning Shi was secretly texting, Jiang Mai and Lu Jingli were peeking at her from the corner of their eyes. After seeing Lu Tingxiao's message, the two of them choked on their wine at the same time. Jiang Mai coughed, cough, 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 cough. Fuck. Lu Jingli. I my dog eyes. Seeing this, Ning Shi immediately put away her phone vigilantly. These two immoral people actually peeped at her text messages. Fortunately, she was sitting in the corner of the sofa. There was no one there, and Lu Jingli and Jiang Mai were on the other side. She didn't have to worry about being seen by others. Halfway through, a waiter came over and opened a few bottles of expensive wine for everyone. Wang Taihe felt a little strange and asked, I don't think we ordered this wine. It was ordered by a Mr. Su, and the bill has been paid. The waiter replied politely, Oh. Hearing his surname was Su, everyone immediately knew who he was. As long as it was an important dinner party with Ning Shui, Su Yin would spare no effort to support her. No wonder he was one of the top 10 boyfriends in the entertainment industry. Come out. A moment later, a light cough came from the sofa. It's me. The person who spoke was Su Yin. Ah, why did it have to be Su Yin? Everyone in the room was dumbfounded and excited at the same time. Although Su Yin's girlfriend, Ning Shuelua, was here, would Su Yin agree to it when facing such a beautiful woman as Ning Shi and it was just a game? Jiang Mai frowned slightly, while Lu Jingli looked vigilant and panicked. Damn it, he had gone too far. He was the one who proposed truth or dare. If his brother knew about it, he would be dead meat. Hey Su Yin, do you agree or not? At this time, many people had drunk too much, and some busybodies started to make noise. Chapter 8:17. Ha ha ha. Seriously, Su Yan's girlfriend is still here. How could he agree? That might not be the case. It's just a game. Shuelua is so generous. I'm sure she won't mind. Shuelua? Under the urging of the crowd, Ning Shuelua looked at Ning Shi in the corner, and then at Su Yin, who looked troubled. She said calmly, It's just a game. Of course I don't mind. Su Yin, make your own decision. Oh, I knew it. Su Yin, you're so lucky. You have such a considerate girlfriend. Su Yin looked at Ning Shi in the corner. After a while, he showed an embarrassed expression. Sorry. Ning Shi shrugged slightly and drank all 3 glasses of wine on the table neatly. Lu Jingli didn't even have time to stop her. Damn, I'm screwed. Suddenly, there was a hubbub and sigh. Damn, another show of affection. I knew Su Yin wouldn't agree. He's already full of women. Other women are nothing. There were also some little actors who were jealous of Ning Shi who were whispering gloatingly, Isn't she just a little beautiful? Does she really think that all men have to kneel down under her pomegranate skirt? Now she's rejected. It's so funny. Ning Shi is just a vase. Only those wretched men who only look at her beauty will like her, right? How can a rich man like Su Yin like her? Even if Ning Shuelua is not here, I don't think he will agree. It's degrading to have a relationship with a small star who relies on her beauty. Ning Shuelua looked at Su Yin and was touched. She said softly, I thought you, Brother Yin, you don't have to do this. I know it's just a game. I won't mind. Su Yin glanced at Ning Shi, who was holding her forehead in the corner. Although he looked a little guilty, he still said firmly, I've always regarded Ningxi as my younger sister and wanted to take care of her, but I definitely wouldn't do such a thing. Even if you understand, I don't want you to misunderstand. Brother Yin. Next, Ning Shuelua was also picked. Ning Shuelua chose Dare and was asked to kiss any man on the field. Needless to say, Ning Shuelua chose Su Yin. As a result, the handsome man and beautiful woman who were kissing passionately were teased by the crowd. Originally, Ningxi was only asked to play the game. Now, it seemed like she wanted to suck up to Su Yin, but ended up being slapped in the face. The atmosphere was a little strange. Unfortunately, at this time, Ningxi miserably drew imp again. The one who drew the big ghost was a drunk little supporting actress. She mumbled, "Ningxi, truth or dare?" After drinking 3 glasses of wine, Ningxi drank too fast and too hastily. She was about to tell the truth, but when the words truth were on the tip of her tongue, she actually said dare. He wanted to correct himself, but it was too late. The supporting actress giggled and said, "Aya, I drank too much. I really can't think of anything else for you to do. Why don't we do the same as before?" However, in order to avoid awkwardness, I won't choose the people in our room. Later, when the first person comes in, you can just ask him for a kiss. Chapter 8:18. Oh, by the way, not the same gender. It has to be the opposite gender. The supporting actress added. Hearing this, everyone became even more excited. What if it's an ugly and wretched man? Ha ha ha, I won't be that unlucky, right? Ningxi didn't know how to comment. It would be awkward to choose the person in the room, but wouldn't it be awkward to choose the stranger who would come in later? However, there was no other way. This was the rule of the game, so they could only continue. At this moment, although the people in the private room were still playing, everyone's mind was clearly focused on who would come in later. The hotel was the most lively at this time. Every room had people who found the wrong place, or drunkards who entered the room by mistake. Just now, several of them had already entered. However, for some reason, no one came in this time, not even the waiters. If no one comes in after 10 minutes, this round is over, right? Finally, someone suggested, "How can that be? If no one comes in after 10 minutes, then choose one of our rooms." Hey, that's a good idea. The supporting actress who had drawn the big ghost just now nodded in agreement. Of course, if you want to choose from the room, you have to choose the opposite gender. Seeing that the 10 minutes were about to pass, it seemed that it was time to choose a person in the room. Ningxi's eyes began to wander around the room. It would be easy if she could choose anyone, but the requirement was that it had to be the opposite gender. Letting her choose herself was better than waiting for the first person to come in later. After all, if she chose herself, it would be too director, producer. These people with sensitive identities were definitely out of the question. Lu Jingli, Jiang Mai, definitely not. Su Yin, needless to say. As for the other male leads, male actors, and crew members, Ningxi looked around one by one, but in the end, she couldn't choose a single person. My head hurts. Sensing Ningxi's gaze in the room, most of the men in the room began to get restless. Ha ha ha, I wonder who will have the honor of being chosen by Beauty Ning tonight? I bet on Jiang Mai. I've long felt that there's something wrong with these two. Why not Lu Jingli? This is a good chance to please the boss. Could it be Su Yin? Su Yin rejected the beauty's face just now. Maybe she won't be satisfied and will ask again? There's still our male lead, Zhao Xizhou. There were more and more whispers in the private room. Almost everyone had been guessed. Ningxi's brain was about to explode. The supporting actress took a look at her mobile phone. Ningxi, 10 minutes are almost up, but no one is coming. How about you choose one of the private rooms? In the corner, Jiang Mai curled his lips and muttered in a low voice, "Or I'll just suffer for a while." In fact, he just said it casually. He knew that Ningxi didn't want to have a scandal with him, so she wouldn't choose him. However, if she chose someone else, she would be taken advantage of. You might as well choose him. Lu Jingli glared at Jiang Mai and looked at the time on his watch. What's the hurry? There's still 1 minute left. At this moment, Lu Jingli looked calm, but his heart was actually on the verge of breaking down. Fuck, it's over. It's over. God bless. If he let little Cece kiss someone else, he would definitely die here today. Die without a burial. Chapter 8:19. Isn't it time yet? I have a timer. The supporting actress looked at her phone. Oh, it's almost time. 10 seconds, 9 seconds, 8 seconds. She hugged her aching head. I admit defeat. Damn it. She should just admit defeat and drink. However, before she could say the word admit defeat, the heavy metal door of the private room was suddenly pushed open from the outside. In an instant, everyone's eyes fell on the golden door, their eyes filled with the light of gossip. Damn it. Someone finally came in. A guest who went the wrong way? Or a drunkard? A waiter? Or some other crew member who came late? First, they saw a slender finger pushing the door open. Their eyes followed the finger up to the low-key but luxurious obsidian cufflinks and a gray tie with dark patterns. Finally, they saw the man's face clearly. His facial features were as sharp as a knife. His eyebrows were like distant mountains, his nose was straight, his lips were tight, and his face was sculpted by God's extreme favor. The private room swayed. In the dim light and dirty air, the man was like a gust of wind that came from a land of ice and snow. His gaze was cold and clear, and his temperament was cold. He stood there quietly, and his gaze moved slightly, sweeping across everyone. It was just a meaningless gaze, but it could make people uncontrollably feel a sense of reverence that they did not dare to look straight at. That was the kind of pressure that only people in high positions could have. Looking at the man who came in, she blinked her eyes, thinking that she was hallucinating. Boss? In an instant, everyone in the private room was stunned. Who was this man? Guo Qixing and Wang Taihe knew each other, but because they didn't expect him to come, they were too surprised. Brother. Lu Jingli, who was silently praying, almost cried with joy when he saw the man at the door. Damn it. He came at the right time. Thank goodness, I'm still alive. Jiang Mai was stunned, and a trace of sadness flashed across his eyes. However, his face relaxed a little. In this way, Ningxi wouldn't be put in a difficult position. Those who were immersed in the man's imposing manner and didn't know the truth suddenly woke up when they heard Lu Jingli call him brother. What? Brother? What did Lu Jingli just call that man? This person was Lu Jingli's older brother? Wasn't that Lu Group's president, Lu Tingxiao? The director seemed to want to invite him over tonight, but they didn't manage to invite him. Brother, you're here. Come in. Lu Jingli hurriedly strode over and welcomed him in. The director and producer also came to their senses and hurriedly went up to him in fear and trepidation. Mr. Lu, you're so busy. I didn't expect you to come tonight. What an honor. Come in. Come in. Holy shit. It really was Lu Tingxiao, but it was no wonder. Apart from Lu Tingxiao, who else could have such an aura? The first person to enter was actually Lu Tingxiao for a time. Everyone looked at each other in dismay, and their expressions were somewhat strange. This Ningxi was too unlucky. The first was Su Yin, and the second was even worse. It was Lu Tingxiao. There was no need to ask to know the result. He would definitely be rejected on the spot. Perhaps he might even think that he was trying to get close to her and cause her to feel bad for him. Chapter 8:20. One had to know that Lu Tingxiao had never been close to women. What he hated the most were those women who came up to him and tried to please him. He wouldn't give them any face, no matter whether they were beautiful or not. But this was such a good opportunity to get close to Lu Tingxiao. Even if she knew she would be rejected, she wouldn't give it up. Ning Xuelua's eyes had a gleam, and she couldn't help looking forward to it. Ningxi was going to be humiliated tonight. Ningxi, hurry up. Someone in the corner reminded her in a low voice. Then, Ningxi was pushed to Lu Tingxiao by several actresses. Hearing this and noticing that everyone looked strange, Lu Tingxiao glanced at Ningxi, asking, "What's wrong?" Ningxi was obviously drunk. Her cheeks were flushed and her eyes looked a little drowsy. Lu Tingxiao frowned imperceptibly. Director Guo Qixing coughed lightly. It's nothing. We were just playing a game." Lu Tingxiao asked, "Game?" Lu Jingli touched his nose. pointed at Ning Shi and explained, "We're playing truth or dare. This girl has been chosen and wants to kiss the first man who comes in. If she fails, she will be punished." "Brother, you're the first one to come in." Lu Tingxiao's expression instantly changed. No wonder Lu Jingli was so anxious to get him here in 10 minutes. What if he couldn't make it? Then Ning Shi, sensing his brother's coldness, Lu Jingli shrunk his neck in fright. Ning Shi raised her head and stared blankly at the handsome face of the great demon king. Hey, I really want to hug and kiss him." No. Ning Shi controlled the impulse to jump on him with her last bit of rationality. She remembered the rules of the game and that they were strangers. The outside world didn't know their relationship. According to the plot, she should be rejected. So Ning Shi coughed lightly, pretended to be an actress that Lu Tingxiao didn't know, gave him a hint, and then walked over in fear and trepidation. She greeted Lu Tingxiao respectfully and then said in a trembling voice, "Well, Mr. Lu, it's just a game. Don't mind me. I'll just drink." Ning Xueluo frowned and snorted. She was a little disappointed. She was smart. She knew that she would be rejected, so she backed down. However, even so, she could only barely save some face. Lu Tingxiao still rejected her in the end, didn't he? Hearing Ning Shi's words, Su Yin unconsciously clenched his fists and slowly relaxed. With that, Ning Shi bent over and picked up a glass of wine from the tea table. Just as he was about to pour it in, he suddenly lost control of his hand. Lu Tingxiao didn't know when he had grabbed her hand, took the glass of wine from her hand, and placed it back on the coffee table. Following that, his large palm covered her waist, and under her somewhat confused gaze, he suddenly leaned over and kissed her lips. In an instant, the entire room was filled with the sound of people sucking in cold air. Someone's wine glass fell to the ground, making an ear-piercing sound. Even Ning Shi was dumbfounded. Damn it! What did the devil do? Didn't she hint at him? Didn't he understand? Chapter 821. At this moment, everyone in the room finally came back to their senses. Damn it! What just happened? Lu Tingxiao kissed Ning Shi. Ning Shi actually succeeded in kissing him? No. Ning Shi didn't even open her mouth. She probably knew it was impossible, so she admitted defeat. But Lu Tingxiao still kissed her. The moment Ning Xueluo saw this scene, she almost crushed the wine glass in her hand. At that moment, she heard a crisp sound. It was the wine glass in Su Yan's hand that accidentally fell to the ground. Sorry, I need to go to the bathroom. Su Yan hurriedly got up and walked out of the room. Noticing Su Yan's reaction, Ning Xueluo's face darkened. Su Yan, what did he mean? Why was he so excited to see another man kissing Ning Shi? She thought she had Su Yan firmly in her palm. She thought Su Yan only felt guilty towards Ning Shi. But at this moment, she suddenly felt a sense of crisis. At this moment, what worried her the most was Lu Tingxiao. Lu Tingxiao actually kissed Ning Shi. How was that possible? Ignoring everyone's shocked expression, Lu Tingxiao sat down on the sofa with a blank expression after the kiss, as if he had done nothing. Seeing Ning Shi still staring at him with a frightened expression, Lu Tingxiao looked up coldly. Anything else? Ning Shi covered her mouth and shook her head like a rattled drum. Then she stood at attention, turned around, and sat down on the sofa obediently. Jiang Mai's hands clenched into fists, and he lowered his eyes to avoid eye contact. The seriously injured Lu Jingli covered his chest and squeezed to Lu Tingxiao's side. Brother, move over there. Originally, there was still some distance between Lu Tingxiao and Ning Shi. After Lu Jingli squeezed over, Lu Tingxiao naturally moved to the side and sat next to Ning Shi. Haha. Mr. Lu really has tender feelings for the fairer sex. Beauty Ning finally succeeded this time. Everyone said one after another to liven up the atmosphere. At the same time, some people secretly whispered to each other. What is Lu Tingxiao trying to do? What else can he mean? He has tender feelings for the fairer sex once in a while. He's a man. Isn't that normal? Of course it's normal for other men, but it's shocking that it happened to Lu Tingxiao. What's wrong with Lu Tingxiao? Lu Tingxiao was also a man. How many men could control a beauty like Ning Shi? Take a guess. If Ning Shualua wasn't there, would Su Yin have given up such a good opportunity to kiss her? TSK this? Indeed, it's hard to say. In the private room, everyone had their own thoughts, but Ning Shi sat there obediently from beginning to end. She was pretending to be a bunny when she suddenly felt a warm palm on her thigh. Ning Shi's back stiffened. She immediately turned to glare at Lu Tingxiao and reached out to hold his hand. What are you doing? Lu Tingxiao supported his forehead with one hand, looking like an immortal banished from the 9 heavens. He sat there with a noble and elegant demeanor, but in private, he held her little hand and squeezed it in his palm, gently or heavily, without letting go. Ningxi tried a few times but failed. She could only let him squeeze her hand, covering it carefully with her skirt. Because of her guilty conscience, her little heart was beating fast. Damn it! Now I really feel like I'm having an affair. Chapter 822. After Lu Tingxiao came in, the originally lively atmosphere in the private room was immediately restrained. It was so quiet that it didn't look like a party, but more like a company meeting. However, Lu Tingxiao, the instigator of all this, did not seem to be aware that he was the cause of all this. He sat there calmly, holding his wife's little hand in private, admiring her little face of being angry but not daring to say anything. Leisurely and contented, cough, that, don't stop, continue. After the crisis was resolved, Lu Jingli immediately revived on the spot and began to get excited again. Anyway, with her brother around, Xiao Sisi would definitely not be at a disadvantage. She could have fun as much as she wanted. After being coaxed by Lu Jingli, everyone immediately relaxed a lot. As they were playing, Su Yin came back. After sitting down beside Ning Shui, he couldn't help but look at Ning Shi from the corner of his eyes. The girl seemed to be a little afraid of Lu Tingxiao. She lowered her head and sat there quietly. She was even a little reserved. Her cheeks were red because of the wine. It seemed that she was shy because of the kiss just now. At this moment, Ning Shi's expression was like a sharp arrow that shot into Su Yan's heart. Since Ning Shi returned to China, she seemed to have changed into a different person. He couldn't remember how long it had been since he last saw her so obedient and timid. Back then, Ning Shi was still a little girl. Whenever she saw him, she would blush. She didn't even dare to look into his eyes when she spoke. But now, 5 years later, he finally saw the Ning Shi he was familiar with, not because of him, but because of another man. Could it be that she had feelings for Lu Tingxiao? Ha ha ha. Senior Jiang, you've fallen into my hands again. Truth or dare? Jiang Mai was in a bad mood, so he said casually, dare? Senior Jiang, I like your personality. Then listen carefully. Please take off your shirt and do 10 sets of push-ups facing the A of the club. Oh. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone was so excited that they almost tore the roof off. Push-ups. Ha ha ha. Everyone revealed a meaningful expression. Ao, Club A. Who's the A of clubs? He's too lucky with women. Could it be a man? Ha ha ha. In the corner, Ning Shi's face darkened. Damn it. She had drawn an A of clubs. What a do? Ning Shi glanced at the great demon king subconsciously. Noticing the girl's gaze, Lu Tingxiao lowered his eyes and saw the ace of clubs in Ning Shi's hand. Where was Plum Blossom A? Come out. Everyone was already urging her. Ning Shi was about to raise her hand when her hand suddenly became empty. The next second, the card in her hand had changed from an ace of clubs to an 8 of diamonds. No wonder Plum Blossom A didn't say anything. It's you, second young master. Lu Jingli looked bitterly at his brother who had swapped his cards. Fuck. How could he screw over his own brother like that? Forget it. Who asked him to play truth or dare on purpose? Lu Jingli shrugged his shoulders at Jiang Mai and said, Bring it on. Everyone roared with laughter. Jiang Mai was sitting next to Lu Jingli. He had already seen Lu Jingli's card. It wasn't an ace of clubs at all, but now it had become an ace of clubs. He didn't need to guess to know who the real ace of clubs was. In the end, Jiang Mai admitted defeat. He picked up the wine on the table and drank 3 glasses. Seeing this, everyone was disappointed. Alas, 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 there was no good show to watch. Chapter 8:23. In the middle of the game, Ningxi was picked once again. Truth or dare? Ningxi hesitated for a moment. Truth. That person seemed to be waiting for Ningxi to tell the truth. He stole a glance at Lu Tingxiao and asked excitedly, how did you feel when Mr. Lu kissed you just now? Ningxi was speechless. Damn it, truth was indeed more dangerous than dare. As soon as this question came out, the eyes of all the girls in the room lit up like 500-watt light bulbs. They were obviously very interested in this question. When Lu Tingxiao kissed Ningxi just now, they were already going crazy with jealousy. Especially the little supporting actress who proposed to let Ningxi kiss the first man who entered the box. She regretted it so much that her intestines turned green. She had created such a good opportunity for another woman. For a moment, everyone's eyes fell on Ningxi. Lu Tingxiao held a glass of red wine in his hand. Although he didn't deliberately look at anyone, it was obvious that his attention was on her. After hesitating for a long time, Ningxi bit the bullet and answered, "To be honest, it was too sudden just now. I didn't have time to feel it." What? It must be the truth. Yeah, you really didn't feel it? It's not that I didn't feel it. I mean, I didn't have time to feel it. I really mean it. Ningxi explained helplessly. Everyone had no choice but to let her go this time. She finally dodged a bullet. She felt an itch in her palm. Lu Tingxiao's fingertips seemed to be rubbing against her palm. Ningxi glared at him. What was he doing now? Lu Tingxiao didn't say anything. He just looked at her with an unusually deep gaze. Next, Ning Xuelua was picked. Xuelua, truth or dare? Changli asked. Dare, Ning Xuelua said with relief. Because Changli was the one who got the big ghost, she definitely wouldn't let her do anything overboard. Then, Changli said, my request is to sing a song with the King of Spades. This dare wasn't exciting at all, and no one paid much attention to it. But the King of Spades turned out to be Lu Tingxiao. Lu Jingli was prepared to let his brother do the same thing, but Changli noticed it first. Aya, the King of Spades is Mr. Lu. When the crowd saw this, they all looked at him enviously. I really want to hear Mr. Lu sing. It was just singing a song together, and it was a game. This couldn't be more normal. Su Yin definitely wouldn't have any problems. This was undoubtedly a good opportunity to build a relationship with Lu Tingxiao. Ning Xuelua smiled and stood up gracefully. She looked at Lu Tingxiao and said, Mr. Lu, why don't you order some? Ning Xuelua was glad that her singing was not bad. Everyone thought that Lu Tingxiao would definitely agree. After all, he had agreed to Ningxi's kiss. There was no reason for him to refuse a song. Changli had already eagerly handed the microphone over to him. In the end, Lu Tingxiao didn't even raise his hand as he spat out 2 words from his thin lips. No. For a moment, Changli's flattering smile froze on her face. Ning Xuelua, who was about to sing, also stood awkwardly in the middle of the room. How could he not know how to sing? He probably didn't want to sing with a female star like Ning Xuelua. For a moment, almost everyone was thinking the same thing. Chapter 8:24. Ning Xuelua had never expected that Lu Tingxiao, who had never been close to women, would kiss Ningxi, a lowly, third-rate female star who relied on her looks to climb up the social ladder, and yet refused to sing a song with her. Changli had thought that she had done a good job and was feeling proud of herself, but when she heard Lu Tingxiao's name, she didn't even dare to breathe loudly. She took the microphone and retreated awkwardly. I see. Then, I'll drink 3 glasses as punishment. Ning Xuelua had no choice but to pick up her glass. Originally, there was still a glimmer of hope that Lu Tingxiao would not have the heart to change his mind. However, Lu Tingxiao just sat there quietly without any change in his expression. Xuelua can't drink. Let me help her. Su Yin stood up, took the glass from Ning Shuilua's hand and helped her drink the 3 glasses. The atmosphere eased a little, and Ning Shuilua wasn't as embarrassed as before. After all, Lu Tingxiao was a man of high status, and it was normal for him to refuse. Lu Tingxiao glanced at Su Yin, who had helped Ning Shuilua out of trouble, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Lu Jingli knew Lu Tingxiao the best, and he knew what he wanted to do with just one look. He rolled his eyes and immediately came up with an idea. His brother was obviously jealous of his rival in love, and he couldn't stand Su Yin, so he wanted to stand up for Ning Shi. After a few rounds, Lu Jingli drew Big Ghost. He looked at his brother, who had drawn Little Wang, and said wickedly, "Brother, truth or dare?" Lu Tingxiao glanced at Lu Jingli. "Dare." Lu Jingli's eyes lit up when he heard that. Wow, how cooperative. Did he know that he was going to help? The others looked at the 2 brothers with interest. Lu Jingli loved to play around, and no one knew what he was going to do to his brother. But would he dare to mess with Lu Tingxiao? Ningxi also curiously held her chin and looked at Lu Jingli. Looking at Lu Jingli's expression, she knew he was going to cause trouble. Lu Jingli coughed lightly, then chuckled and said to Lu Tingxiao, "Bro, my request is very simple. I want you to sing a song with someone else. Among the people sitting here, you can choose anyone to sing with you." When everyone heard this, they couldn't help but laugh. Lu Tingxiao had already said that he didn't know how to sing and didn't want to sing with others. But now, Lu Jingli wanted him to find someone to sing with. Wasn't he trying to make him lose? However, this was not the end. Lu Jingli continued, "Also, I want to choose the song. Hee hee. I want you to sing Whirlpool with the person you choose." Everyone at the scene was silent for a few seconds before they all burst into laughter. Jiang Mai was speechless. Ahem, swirl. This second uncle of his had really lost all his integrity. Ning Shi also held her forehead, as if she couldn't bear to look at it. Actually, this kind of song was just a little flirtatious in the lyrics. To her, it was child's play. However, if it was the abstinent Lu Tingxiao singing it, oh my, no, I can't think about it anymore. Just the thought of Lu Tingxiao singing this song made her a little unable to control herself. When the others in the room thought of the lyrics of Whirlpool, they were all speechless. Second young master was too much. What the heck? He actually wanted Lu Tingxiao to sing a song as flirtatious as Whirlpool with someone else. Most importantly, it was too weird to sing this kind of song with a man. If he had to choose, he would definitely choose a woman, right? Chapter 825. Ning Shuilua had only asked to sing a normal song, and Lu Tingxiao had rejected her. How could he agree to it this time? Everyone thought that the brothers were just fooling around and didn't take it seriously. Speaking of which, the 2 brothers were really close. Only Lu Jingli would dare to joke with Lu Tingxiao like that. Just as everyone was lamenting, Lu Jingli had already scampered over to pick the song Whirlpool, and then excitedly urged Lu Tingxiao, "Hurry up and choose someone. If you're not going to sing, then drink. 3 big glasses, not 1 less." Just then, the prelude of the music started. Lu Tingxiao straightened up slightly and reached for the coffee table. It looked like he was going to drink. Everyone looked as if they had expected this. However, the next second, Lu Tingxiao's fingers avoided the wine glass on the coffee table and picked up the microphone next to it. What was Lu Tingxiao going to do? Almost everyone straightened up slightly. Then, under countless burning gazes, Lu Tingxiao casually placed the microphone in Ning Shi's hand. Ning Shi? What the hell? What did he mean? Was the devil crazy? Was he really going to sing? And chose her to sing with him? Just then, everyone else was going crazy too. Fuck. Ning Shi. What did Lu Tingxiao mean? Was he going to sing and chose Ning Shi to sing with him? Just as everyone's jaws were about to drop, the prelude ended. Lu Tingxiao casually leaned back on the sofa, slightly raised the microphone in his hand, and opened his thin lips slightly, following the curves you designed, turning and turning, falling into the eye of the storm. Everything in the world revolves around me, accompanying me, settling down for you. In the private room, a low, hoarse voice that sounded like a cello rang out. Fuck. Did Mr. Lu sing this? My ears are going to get pregnant. It's so good. Did he turn on the original? No, no. It's really Mr. Liu. Wow. Mr. Liu's voice is so sexy and charming when he sings. This subwoofer is going to knock Gucci out. Ah, that's amazing. Didn't you say you couldn't sing? That's so good. Actually, I thought with Mr. Liu's personality, he really couldn't sing. It turns out that I was too naive. Seeing that it was a female voice, Ningxi missed half a beat because she was absent-minded. She had no time to think and hurriedly picked up the microphone. Surpassing reason, surpassing nature, deceiving God to bring you to my side. Even if I love you to the point where you're torn to shreds, I'll still be there to receive you. When you fall to the heavens, just like you, if you're reduced to dust, who still wants to be whole? Come, sink in the depths of me. Along with Ningxi's singing, there was another small-scale scream in the private room. The girl's voice was soft and affectionate, and the end of her voice was like a small hook. Ningxi seemed to be singing calmly, but in fact, his face was a little hot. Fuck. What did he mean by come and sink in my depths? The lyrics of this song were so shameful. Damn that Lu Jingli. Of course, if one didn't think too much about it, the lyrics weren't that big of a deal. However, was any of the people present pure and innocent? Then came the chorus. Lu Tingxiao and Ningxi's voices rang out at the same time. Come hug me, form a whirlpool. Roll up the storm behind our passionate kiss. Ningxi, drown you together with the human world. Lu Tingxiao, I love you so much too. Chapter 8:26. The lyrics of this song were so ambiguous that Ningxi couldn't let it go at first. But later, maybe because of the alcohol and Lu Tingxiao's familiar and reassuring aura, she unconsciously relaxed. The more she sang, the better she was. The languid look on her face made people blush and their hearts beat faster. What was even more shocking was the coordination between the two of them. Wasn't it too tacit? The two of them didn't interact at all. They were just singing. They didn't even make eye contact. However, whether it was when they were singing or the feeling and aura between them, it was like they were a couple in love. The natural tacit understanding, the sweetness, and the affection were so strong that it couldn't be dissolved. Lu Tingxiao was such a proud and aloof person, but at this moment, he seemed to have descended from heaven to the mortal world. Lu Tingxiao Ningxi, come hug me, kiss me from the tip of my toes, and your soul falls into the flood inch by inch. Lu Tingxiao, love is eating me away. Ningxi, like a heavenly net. Lu Tingxiao, regardless of the consequences. Ningxi, this is a disaster caused by greed. Finally, the song was over. Only then did everyone finally come back to their senses from the enchanting song. Lu Jingli was the first to applaud. I finally heard you sing a song. Even though he already knew that his brother's voice was extremely sexy when he sang, he was still amazed by it this time. Jiang Mai also came to himself. It was the first time for him to hear Lu Tingxiao sing. He didn't expect that, with his personality, he would really sing a love song with Ningxi in front of so many people. Everyone applauded and complimented him. Oh my God, Mr. Liu, you sang so well. How could you say you can't sing? You're too modest. You're so good at everything. I think I'd better go home and work in the field instead of in the entertainment circle. Ningxi sang well too. I didn't expect that Beauty Ning not only acts well, but also sings so well. The two of them cooperated so well. I feel like I'm in love. I feel that Mr. Liu is especially partial to Beauty Ning tonight. Ning Xuelua felt like she was being slapped in the face as she listened to the praises around her. Not only could Lu Tingxiao sing, but he also sang so well. He turned her down and turned around to sing a love song with Ningxi. It was like putting her face on the ground and stepping on it. Seeing his woman being slapped in the face in public, Su Yin was naturally displeased. But he couldn't do anything about it. She just didn't want to sing with him. How could he force her? Moreover, his mind was not on Ning Shui at this moment. His mind was filled with the scene of Ningxi singing with Lu Tingxiao. Wasn't the feeling between the two of them a little too unusual? It was like a pair of lovers in love. Changli coughed awkwardly and comforted her. Shueluo, don't be sad. Shengshi Entertainment is a subsidiary of Lu's group, and Ningxi is a member of Shengshi Entertainment. It's inevitable that Lu Tingxiao will defend her in public, Shui said. Ning Shui said. Shui. Ning Ning Shuet, she said. Tingle. Unable to accomplish anything, but more than enough to spoil things. Ning Shueluo was about to die from anger, but she still had to maintain her composure. However, when she turned around, she saw Su Yin staring at Ning Shi. Instantly, the jealousy in her heart burned again. She was so angry that she was about to explode. Chapter 827. In the suburbs of the capital, in Ning Shueluo's new villa, Ning Shueluo held a glass of red wine in her hand and drank it angrily. She threw the glass to Changli and said with a dark expression, "Tell Su Yimo what happened tonight." Understood. Changli carefully took the glass and said tentatively, "Actually, it's just a social event. You don't have to be so nervous. Lu Tingxiao is probably just giving Lu Jingli face." Ning Shueluo glared at her impatiently. Of course I know. Of course I know. Otherwise, why would Lu Tingxiao be interested in Ning Shi? Changli mumbled and didn't dare to speak. Get lost. I'm annoyed to see you. Useless thing. Changli quickly ran away as if she had been pardoned. Ning Shueluo had been angered so much tonight that she almost exploded. Changli didn't want to stay here any longer. She was scolded when she did nothing, but she was still scolded when she did something. She didn't know what was going on recently, but it was as if she was possessed. Nothing went smoothly. After Changli left, Ning Shueluo drank the rest of the red wine in the bottle. Then, she went into the bathtub, took a petal bath, and changed into a thin nightgown. After that, Ning Shueluo lay on the spacious bed in the middle of the bedroom. She picked up her phone and made a call. Hello, Shueluo? A man's gentle voice came through the phone. Brother Yin, it's already so late. Why aren't you sleeping? Brother Yin, I feel terrible. Terrible? What's wrong? What's wrong? Terrible. So terrible. What should I do? I feel like I'm going to die. Don't talk nonsense. Where are you? Is there anyone home? I'm at the cottage in the middle of the lake. Stay here and don't move. I'll go find you right away. After the call, Ning Shueluo threw away the phone in her hand and took out a delicate crystal bottle from the drawer at the head of the bed. She poured the expensive essential oil in the bottle onto her palm and slowly applied it to every inch of her skin. Soon, the sound of a car engine could be heard outside the house, followed by the sound of hurried footsteps approaching from afar. Shueluo. As soon as Su Yin opened the bedroom door, he was embraced by a warm and soft body. Brother Yin. Ning Shueluo wrapped her arms around the man's waist as if she was hugging onto a life-saving straw. She looked as if she was about to lose everything. Brother Yin, do you not love me anymore? Su Yin frowned. He carried her and placed her on the bed. Why did you drink so much? Is that so? Do you not love me anymore? Ning Shueluo raised her head and looked at him. A trace of helplessness flashed across Su Yan's face. How could that be? If I don't love you, who else can I love? Ning Shueluo looked at him, hurt. Ningxi, do you still love Ningxi? Su Yan's face stiffened. Don't talk nonsense. Didn't I already tell you very clearly? Why are you letting your imagination run wild? No, it's not that I'm imagining things. Tonight, your eyes were on her the whole time. Ning Shueluo's face was filled with sorrow. Shueluo, you're thinking too much. I'm just worried that Ningxi will be taken advantage of, Su Yin explained. Taken advantage of? How could he lose out if he could get close to someone like Lu Tingxiao? I'm afraid she's looking forward to it. Su Yin, look at me seriously. Do you really only feel guilty towards her? Seeing her flirting with another man, you're just worried. Not jealous? Chapter 828. Su Yan's eyes flickered, but only for a moment. Soon, he returned to normal. I'm just worried, not jealous. Have a good rest and don't worry anymore, okay? You are the only one in my heart. Don't you know that? Finally getting a positive answer, Ning Shuelua's eyes flashed with a trace of complacency. She took the initiative to put her arms around his neck and covered his lips. Brother Yin, hug me. The girl's hot breath was in his ear, and the smooth skin of her chest rubbed against his arm. He could smell a sweet fragrance that made him drown in it. Su Yan's lower body reacted almost immediately. However, for some reason, what came to his mind was not Ning Shuelua's face, but the scene of Ning Shi being kissed by Lu Tingxiao and the shy expression of the girl covering her face. The reaction of his lower body was even stronger, but his heart felt as if a basin of cold water had been poured over it. Thinking of the ambiguous relationship between Ning Shi and Lu Tingxiao tonight, and comparing it with her indifference to him, Su Yan's heart was even colder. He completely lost the mood. He pulled down Ning Shuelua's arm and covered her with the quilt. You need to rest. You have to get up early tomorrow to catch up with the work. Have you forgotten? It's okay. I can push it off. You have. Ning Shuelua's little hand covered the man's swollen part like a snake. Su Yin stiffened his back and pressed her hand. I'm fine. Go to sleep. With that, he kissed her forehead, turned off the light for her, and gently closed the door. Outside the house, the sound of a car engine could be heard again. Ning Shuelua threw away the blanket on her body and stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window. She looked at the car that drove away from the building. In the next second, she swept all the things on the dressing table to the ground. Ning Shi, you bitch. Su Yin didn't touch her. Although his attitude towards her was still as gentle as ever, this was something that had never happened before. Especially at the moment when she kissed him, his eyes were not right at all. He was not thinking about her at all. Ning Shi, that bitch, must have secretly seduced Su Yin. She might have even been in contact with Su Yin without her knowing. Damn it, did she still think that she could get Su Yin back? Dream on. Nowadays, the Ning family and the Su family were intertwined. Too many businesses and projects were intertwined. Pulling one part would affect the whole. Su Yin couldn't leave her. After leaving the hut in the middle of the lake, Su Yin drove aimlessly along the road. Unknowingly, he found himself parked in front of the Pearl River Imperial View. He lit a cigarette and sat in the car for a while. In the end, he couldn't resist the urge that grew like weeds in his heart. He opened the car door and entered the building. Standing in front of Ning Shi's apartment, Su Yin hesitated for a moment before pressing the doorbell. In the end, after pressing it several times, there was no response at all. Su Yin frowned. Did she fall asleep? Or did she not come back at all? Meanwhile, inside a black Maybach that was driving slowly on the road, a girl's wild, runaway singing could be heard. The great river flows to the east. The stars in the sky join the Big Dipper. Hey, join the Big Dipper. Roar when you see injustice on the road. Make a move when it's time to make a move. Rush through the 9 provinces. Lu Tingxiao, who was driving, was speechless. Lu Jingli, who was sitting in the back seat, was speechless. Chapter 829. Ning Shi stared at Lu Tingxiao discontentedly as she sang. Driver, open the window. No, not that window. I want to open the sunroof. Sunroof, open it now. Lu Tingxiao pinched between his eyebrows and pressed a button on the car. Instantly, the car turned into an open top. A gust of wind blew over. Ning Shi leaned against the window with her arms outstretched. She was even more excited now. Man on the horse, you're mighty and majestic. The galloping horse is like a gust of wind. The boundless wilderness follows you wherever you go. Lu Jingli said, a soul singer is born. Brother Shi, have you ever thought about entering the music industry? Jiang Mai couldn't stand it anymore. Brother, that's enough. Don't be photographed by the reporters. Hearing this, Ning Shi finally restrained herself a little. She hurriedly said, Master, close the window. Close the window. Lu Tingxiao gave her a doting look and said indulgently, It's okay. There are no reporters. Ning Shi's eyes suddenly lit up and she began to let loose again. Ah, I've waited for 1,000 years. 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 I have no regrets. Who said, love me forever? Just for this sentence, aha, I have no regrets. Jiang Mai's face was full of despair. He regretted his decision to hitchhike. Lu Jingli burped. He looked like he had been through a lot and was used to it. Mandarin ducks and butterflies fly together. A garden full of beautiful spring scenery. Secretly asked the holy monk, is my daughter beautiful? 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 Lu Tingxiao said, yes. Heh. Ningxi finally calmed down. Platinum Palace. As soon as they arrived, Lu Jingli and Jiang Mai, who had been stuffed with dog food for the whole night, immediately got out of the car and ran away. Lu Tingxiao parked the car and helped the drunk girl into the house. He helped her change her shoes and coat and wiped her face with hot water. Seeing the girl giggling, Lu Tingxiao's mood was also affected. He touched her cheek. Are you in a good mood? Ningxi immediately nodded, her eyes sparkling. Lord Boss, you really have a golden tongue. I've really waited for a better script. Grandpa had recovered, the studio was on the right track, and the new show that she had been dreaming of was finally settled. He couldn't remember how long it had been since he was so happy. Recalling that dark experience, it felt like it was a lifetime ago. Lu Tingxiao stared at the light in the girl's eyes. In the next second, he bent down and kissed her lips. What are you doing? Why did they suddenly start kissing? Lu Tingxiao looked at her with a half-smile. Didn't you say that it was too sudden, and you didn't have time to feel it? Ningxi suddenly remembered the question someone asked her when they were playing Truth or Dare in the hotel room. The great Demon King's memory was simply amazing. He could still remember even now. How do you feel? Lu Tingxiao looked at her and asked again. Well? Ningxi blinked her eyes and thought seriously for a long time. Then she replied, what if I still don't feel it clearly? Lu Tingxiao chuckled and kissed her again. Ningxi was happily taking advantage of the great Demon King when she suddenly heard footsteps. She hurriedly pushed Lu Tingxiao away and jumped off the bed. Sure enough, it was the soft and adorable little bun who walked in with her slippers. After seeing Ningxi, the little bun probably thought she was dreaming. She stood there, rubbed her eyes, and then expressionlessly stretched out a little hand to pinch her little bun face. Chapter 830. Ningxi's heart almost melted when she saw the little girl standing there and pinching her own face. She immediately hugged the little fellow. Puff, baby, why are you so cute? I'm not dreaming. Feeling the real body temperature and soft hug, the little girl finally believed that it was really Aunt Xiaoxi. Her short hands grasped Ningxi's clothes tightly and stuck to her arms. At the same time, her grape-like dark eyes stared at Papa behind her vigilantly and confusedly. Papa secretly stayed with Mama without him again. Receiving his son's accusatory gaze, Lu Tingxiao smiled and rubbed his son's little head. I won't compete with you tonight. In order to make Aunt Xiaoxi's half-mother become a full mother, the little girl had indeed sacrificed a lot of time to stick to Ningxi. Lu Tingxiao tucked them in. Go to bed early. I still have something to deal with. Ningxi frowned. Why are you still working so late? Lu Tingxiao nodded. Yes, I have to make money to support my wife and children. Ningxi, Lu Tingxiao chuckled and kissed her forehead. Go to sleep. I'll be okay soon. After coaxing the little girl to sleep, Ningxi was about to turn off the light when her cell phone suddenly lit up. There was a call. Ningxi pressed the answer button before the phone rang, and then walked quietly to the balcony. Hello? Xiaoxi, where are you? Why didn't you go home? Su Yan's slightly anxious voice came from the other end of the phone. How do you know I didn't go home? Ningxi raised her eyebrows. I'm at the door of your apartment. Su Yan replied. What's up? Xiaoxi, where are you now? Su Yan asked. Where do you think I should be? Sleeping with a man? Ningxi gathered her coat and looked at the little girl on the bed. Her eyes were so gentle that she didn't feel anything when she heard Su Yan's questioning tone. Ningxi. Su Yan's tone immediately became stern. That's not what I meant. I just wanted to remind you to protect yourself, especially when it comes to Lu Tingxiao. Don't ever have any thoughts that you shouldn't have and get involved in this mess. I'm sure you know that Su Yimo from your company has always had an ambiguous relationship with him. I heard that the Lu family has already chosen a fiancé for him, not to mention that he has an illegitimate child. In order to prevent Ning Xuelua from misunderstanding him, Su Yin, the best boyfriend, was determined to cut ties with her. What was wrong with him tonight? Not only did he wait for her at her door, but he also called her in a hurry and said so much. She couldn't be bothered to think about what he wanted to do. She said faintly, "Young Master Su, it looks like I need to remind you again that my matters are none of your business. Also, as for Lu Tingxiao, even if I have to sleep with him for one night, it's still better than marrying someone like you. Don't worry about it." With that, he hung up the phone. Chapter 831. Su Yin cursed in a low voice. With a gloomy face, he punched the car door. She had softened her attitude towards him a while ago. Why was she so cold and sharp now? He couldn't help thinking about Ningxi, who was so unpredictable and temperamental. His mind was full of thoughts, and he couldn't control himself at all. The next morning, looking at the servants who kept carrying things in and out downstairs, Ningxi felt a little strange. What are they doing? Miss Xiaoxi, these are birthday gifts. Steward Yuan replied. Birthday gifts? Yes, it's Master's birthday soon. No wonder. Ningxi looked like she understood. Only the top celebrities would be invited to the birthday party. Those who were not qualified to be invited but wanted to curry favor with the Lu family would naturally take this opportunity to send all kinds of gifts. You're awake. Did you sleep well last night? Lu Tingxiao came out of the bedroom. Ningxi nodded and asked casually, Is your father's birthday coming soon? Yes. Ningxi scratched her hair and said with a frown, Does Xiaobao need to be present then? Lu Tingxiao knew what she was worried about and replied, 2 years ago, Xiaobao was not in a good state, so he didn't attend. This year, even if he goes, he will just show up. Ningxi was a little relieved. You must be very busy these days. I happen to be free in the morning. Can I send Xiaobao to school today? As soon as Ningxi finished speaking, her legs softened. Little Baozi, who was hanging on her leg, had already hugged her. He raised his head and his little face was shining. Obviously, he had heard that Aunt Xiaoxi was going to send him to school. After breakfast, Ningxi put on a long dress, a pink clip, put on a very gentle and virtuous makeup, and happily sent Xiaobao to school. Because Xiaoxi's mother was accompanying him, little Baozi was in a very good mood. He was always cold like a little robot with a rare soft smile on his face, which was very cute on the way to school. Several teachers couldn't help sighing. I thought Lu Qingyu was autistic. Isn't it good? Yes, but this child seems to be closer to his mother. The little Shota is really charming when he smiles. Sob, 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 and he looks just like his mother when he smiles. I wonder how many girls will fall for him when he grows up. Speaking of which, why do I feel that Mrs. Lu looks a little familiar? Now that you mention it, I also feel that it's a bit like a celebrity who has just become popular recently. I know who you were talking about. Is it the female general who acted as a couple with Jiang Mai and Tianxia? I like her quite a lot. However, it should only be a slight resemblance. If you take a closer look at their temperament and style, they are not the same person. After sending Little Bun to the classroom, Ningxi bumped into Little Bun's teacher in the corridor. Hey, Mrs. Lu. Mr. Wang hurriedly stopped her. Ningxi turned around. Teacher Wang. Mrs. Lu, nice to see you. I wanted to talk to you. Do you have time now? Yes. Ningxi nodded hurriedly. She couldn't help but feel a little worried. She didn't know why Xiaobao's teacher suddenly looked for her. Did something happen to Xiaobao at school? Chapter 832. In the office, Mr. Wang poured a cup of tea for Ningxi and said tactfully, Mrs. Lu, here's the thing. There have been several tests in school. Have you seen Lu Qingyu's results? Yes. Ning Shi nodded. Ms. Wang didn't know what to say when she saw Ning Shi's calm reaction. She coughed lightly and said, Lu Qingyu scored 0 in all 3 subjects. Yes, I know that. And the point is, he didn't do anything wrong. He didn't even do a single question and hand it in a blank paper. Even if he doesn't understand, he can't do a single question. Ms. Wang sighed and said, I just want to understand what this child is thinking. You know your child's situation. As teachers, we can't communicate with him. Ning Shi heaved a sigh of relief. As long as Xiao Bao wasn't being bullied at school, everything was fine. Ning Shi deliberated over her words and said, Ms. Wang, thank you for your concern for my son. You know my son's situation. We sent him to school just to let him have more contact with children of his age and hope that he will be happier. Apart from that, we don't care about anything else. We don't ask for grades, so you don't have to feel pressured. Ms. Wang didn't know what to say after hearing this. This was the first time she had met a parent who didn't care about grades. Nowadays, all parents were focused on their children's grades. Even if they were only a few years old, they would start all kinds of classes, afraid that they would fall behind others. But since Ning Shi, as a parent, said that grades didn't matter and that it wasn't the teacher's fault, what else could she say? Plus, Xiao Bao's situation was special, so she couldn't say anything more. She coughed lightly and said, Okay then, I understand. I'm still very grateful for your concern for Lu Qingyu, Ms. Wang. Thank you. If it weren't for you, Xiao Bao wouldn't have adapted to school so quickly. Ning Shi thanked her politely. If she didn't know Xiao Bao, she might have the same worries as her teacher. However, she had been with Xiao Bao for such a long time, so she knew very well that Xiao Bao's heaven-defying genes had shocked her many times. This little fellow's IQ was simply off the charts, and he was super talented in many things. The only question was whether he was willing to do it. Even Ning Shi herself felt that it was an insult to Little Bun's intelligence if she asked him to do the test papers and questions in kindergarten. Every child was special and should be treated in a special way. So, why force him to do those questions for the sake of an adult's vanity and get 100 marks? Mrs. Lu, you're too kind. This is what I should do. Although Lu Qingyu is a bit introverted, he is a very lovable child. I also hope that he can be well. Ning Shi's polite and respectful attitude made Teacher Wang very happy, and he hurriedly said with a smile. Several days later, in the evening. Today was the old man's 60th birthday. The banquet was about to begin, and everyone in the old house was busy. Yen Ruri was wearing a noble and gorgeous crimson cheongsam today. She was directing the servants while looking nervously outside the door. Similarly, Lu Chongshan was pacing around with a nervous and expectant expression. Chapter 833. Finally, a black Maybach stopped at the main entrance. Then, the door opened and 2 people, one big and one small, alighted from the car. The father and son were dressed in custom-made suits of the same style and color. To match today's occasion, Lu Tingxiao's tie and Xiao Baozi's bow tie were both bright red and looked very festive. The moment the 2 of them appeared, they immediately attracted everyone's attention. The servants greeted them with smiles on their faces. Greetings, young master. Greetings, young master. Yen Rui heaved a sigh of relief when she saw the arrival of her son, especially her precious grandson. She went up to them with a smile. Io, my baby is here. Lu Chongshan's stern expression softened when he saw Xiao Bao. Xiao Bao is here. This year was different from the past. After all, it was his birthday. Regardless of whether it was from the big picture or from a personal perspective, he really hoped that his only precious grandson could come. After all, Xiao Bao was his only grandson. Of his 2 sons, neither of them was easy to deal with. One was a man who refused to get married, and the other was completely uninterested in men and women. Seeing that the Lu family was about to end, Xiao Bao's appearance was like a ray of light in the darkness. Moreover, the little fellow became more and more adorable as he grew up. He was more outstanding than his peers in all aspects and was even better than Tingxiao in the past. Ever since Xiao Bao was born, the Lu family had a successor. Lu Chongshan's heart immediately calmed down, and he lived a comfortable life for a few years. He didn't even care about his two sons anymore, who knew that there would be unpredictable winds and clouds in the sky. Because of a momentary lapse in judgment, such a thing actually happened, and he blamed himself for 2 whole years. In the past 2 years, Xiao Bao's condition was fluctuating. He could only watch helplessly as the intelligent and quick-witted child turned into a soulless puppet. Dark clouds began to cover the sky above the Lu family, and he felt as though a huge rock was pressing down on his heart. But now, he finally saw some hope for Xiao Bao to get better. However, this hope was built on an even bigger worry. He was on tenterhooks every day, not daring to relax at all. He was happy, but more worried. He was worried that the same thing would happen again. He was worried that it would be an even bigger disaster. Lu Chongshan recalled the time when Xiao Bao was very young. Xiao Bao would sit on his knees and giggle at him. Xiao Bao would call him grandpa in his arms. Lu Chongshan's eyes suddenly turned a little red. He turned his face away and said, "Ting Xiao, take Xiao Bao into the house to play for a while. There are a lot of people today, so don't scare him. When most of the guests have arrived, take him to meet someone and greet them." "All right." Lu Tingxiao nodded. As if sensing his father's emotions, he said, "Xiao Bao has prepared a birthday present for you." Xiao Bao blinked his eyes and nodded in agreement with Papa. Hearing this, Lu Chongshan's solemn mood dissipated a little. He smiled and said, "Oh, is that so? Xiao Bao is so filial. Grandpa is looking forward to it." Watching the adult and the child enter the house, Yin Rui sighed. "When Xiao Bao gets better and Ting Xiao marries Ziyao, my heart will be completely at ease." Lu Chongshan shook his head. "It's not that easy." At this moment, the adult and the child were completely controlled by that woman. Chapter 834. As dusk fell, the large carved gate of the old mansion, which had been closed all year round, slowly opened. The distinguished guests from the capital and from afar slowly drove into the majestic main mansion. All guests had to go through a metal inspection before entering. Other than the gold and silver jewelry worn by the ladies, no dangerous products were allowed in. The manor gradually became lively, and luxury cars came one after another, each more luxurious than the last. As one of the biggest events in the capital's top circle, the reporters had long been eyeing it. However, the Lu family had always been low-key, and this banquet was not open to the public, so naturally no one dared to touch it. "Brother Lu, happy birthday." Guan Rui congratulated with a face full of smiles. Other than Guan Ziyao, there was also a young man beside him. "You're too polite. Please come in." "This is?" Lu Chongshan and Yin Rui looked suspiciously at the 13 or 14-year-old boy beside Guan Rui. He had a regular appearance and a slightly arrogant expression. "This is my grandson, Guan Jichen," Guan Rui introduced. Yin Rui immediately had a look of realization. "Oh, so it's Jichen." When I first saw him, he was still a little kid. In the blink of an eye, he's already so big. I didn't recognize him at all. He should be in junior high now, right? "Auntie Lu, he's in his 3rd year of high school. He skipped a few grades in between." Guan Xiao replied, "Oh, not bad. Little Qian is really talented. He'll definitely be stronger than his father in the future." Guan Rui looked at his grandson with a face full of pride. However, he still said modestly, "He's still far from it." After entering the hall, Guan Xiao looked around and asked casually, "Auntie Lu, why don't I see Xiao Bao?" "Oh, Xiao Bao. Xiao Bao is still in the house. I'm afraid he won't be used to the crowd, so I'll bring him out later." Speaking of her grandson, Yin Rui's tone was very loving. Hearing that, Guan Xiao held Yin Rui's arm and said with concern, "Auntie, about Xiao Bao's situation. I know a little. When I was overseas, I minored in psychology and came into contact with quite a few of these special children. Perhaps I can help?" This, Yin Rui was a little hesitant. Otherwise, it's not a solution in the long run. When Arji-chun was 5 years old, he could already attend company meetings with my brother without any stage fright. Guan Ziyao continued. She knew that the most important person to the Lu clan was not Yin Rui or Lu Chongshan, but Lu Tingxiao's son of unknown origin, Xiaobao, Lu Tingxiao's only son, Lu Chongshan, and Yin Rui's only grandson. This was because Lu Chongshan's family only had one male grandson. Therefore, they valued this child more than anyone expected. For this reason, when she was abroad, she even studied psychology for a period of time, focusing on autism. For some reason, Yin Rui felt a little uncomfortable when she heard that. True autism was completely isolated from the outside world. Their family Xiaobao was just a little stimulated and was more introverted than the average child. How could it be autism? Even Qin Mufeng had said that Xiaobao did not fall under the category of autism. At most, it could be considered post-traumatic stress disorder. What's more, since Ningxi appeared, Xiaobao's condition had improved a lot. He could laugh and make noise, and he could even speak. What were you two talking about just now? Lu Chongshan immediately looked sharply in the direction of Yin Rui and Guan Ziyao. Yin Rui's face paled. Could it be Guan Ziyao's expression also changed? Say something. Lu Chongshan looked at Yin Rui anxiously. Just as Lu Chongshan was panicking, Guan Ziyao's voice suddenly came from Lu Tingxiao's phone. Auntie, I know a little about Xiao Bao's situation. He's a special child. When Arji-chan was 5 years old, he could already attend company meetings with my brother without any stage fright. I know a school that specializes in autistic children. While they were talking, Lu Tingxiao had already used his phone to accurately pull up the surveillance footage from that time. Chapter 836. Lu Chongshan's expression darkened as he listened to Guan Ziyao's words. Xiaobao's kidnapping had caused a huge commotion back then. Although the Lu family had sealed off the news and the outside world didn't know about it, the people in the circle still knew about it. Moreover, Xiaobao hadn't appeared in any formal events for 2 whole years, so it was inevitable that there would be all sorts of rumors. Some people even privately speculated that Xiaobao had been scared silly and that the only grandson of the Lu family was completely crippled. Xiaobao might have been slightly autistic, but Lu Chongshan couldn't help but feel uncomfortable when he heard Guan Ziyao calling him a special child and an autistic child. She even compared her nephew, Guan Jichin. The atmosphere became a little awkward as the voices from the surveillance cameras rang out. Guan Ziyao furrowed her brows and said, Auntie Lu and I didn't say anything that might agitate the child. Is there another reason? Lu Jingli glanced at her and mumbled, Isn't that agitating? Think about it from another perspective. If it were you, would you be happy to be called sick and sent to a special school? Xiaobao is a normal child. Of course he would be hurt and upset after hearing these words. Lu Jingli's words struck a chord with Lu Chongshan and Yin Rui. Guan Ziyao's expression stiffened. Although she didn't think that it was her fault, she couldn't refute Lu Jingli's words. She could only apologize guiltily. I'm sorry, I didn't expect things to turn out this way. Yin Rui knew that she didn't do it on purpose. She patted her on the shoulder and tried to smooth things over. Ziyao, it's not your fault. No one knew that Xiaobao would suddenly come and hear all this. Lu Chongshan's expression was solemn as he said, The most important thing now is to find Xiaobao. The consequences would be dire if something were to happen at an event like this. Tingxiao, can you see where Xiaobao went from the surveillance cameras? Yin Rui asked anxiously. Lu Tingxiao replied, He avoided the surveillance cameras on purpose. Guan Ziyao was a little surprised to hear Lu Tingxiao's words. How could a 5-year-old child know how to avoid the surveillance cameras? Wasn't Lu Tingxiao exaggerating a little? He must have just avoided them by coincidence. When Yin Rui heard this, she became even more anxious. Then what should we do? There are so many guests today, and we can't openly look for him. Guan Ziyao wanted to make amends for her mistake, so she thought for a while and said, Under normal circumstances, autistic? A child with Xiaobao's personality is usually insecure, so he would hide in a place where he feels most secure. Maybe he's hiding in this room. Have you searched the house? Guan Ziao asked the little maid. The little maid immediately nodded. I've looked everywhere. Are you sure? Guan Ziao asked again. Have you looked in the cupboard? Under the bed? Cupboard? Under the bed? The little maid shook her head and frowned. No. Our young master loves cleanliness. Why would he go to that kind of place? Let's look around. In my experience, these are the most likely places. Guan Ziao said. The little maid did not move immediately. Instead, she looked in the direction of Lu Chongshan and Yin Rui. Chapter 837. After receiving the affirmation, she hurriedly started searching. Yin Rui and Lu Chongshan also helped to search around the house. In the end, after searching for half a day and even rummaging through the drawers, he still found nothing. Guan Ziao thought for a while. Does he have a habit of going somewhere? The little maid was covered in dust. She wiped her sweat and said, I've searched all the places that the young master could have gone. Tingxiao, what should we do now? Say something. Yin Rui looked at her son anxiously. Lu Tingxiao glanced at his phone. I've checked several entrances and exits. He hasn't left the villa. It's all my fault. I didn't notice him coming. I said something that made him sad. Yin Rui blamed herself. She felt sorry for Xiaobao when she thought that he might be hiding somewhere sad. Lu Chongshan didn't relax at all. You mean he must be at home? But they still had to find the person. We can't leave him alone, can we? Let him calm down. Lu Tingxiao said expressionlessly. When Lu Chongshan heard that, he immediately erupted like a volcano. Are you even human? He is still young. Let him calm down. Xiaobao's condition was unstable to begin with, and this is just a little better. Do you want him to return to his previous state? Seeing that Lu Tingxiao was still indifferent, Lu Chongshan's face darkened. He suppressed his anger and said, All right, you don't have to trick me anymore. Call that woman over. That woman? Guan Ziyao was alarmed when she heard the key word. Lu Tingxiao glanced at his father coldly. Father, who are you talking about? That woman. Lu Chongshan glared at his son and said, Ningxi, I don't know who she is in the Lu family. Just tell me and I'll be there. Lu Tingxiao said unhurriedly. Lu Jingli shook his head and clicked his tongue. TSK, 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 TSK. Aren't you two dating now? Lu Chongshan said grumpily. So you know. Lu Tingxiao's casual words obviously meant something. She already knew that he was dating someone, yet she still tried to matchmake him with another woman. When she was free, she would think of that woman. But when she was busy, she would remember that she was his dating partner. Being mocked by his son in front of an outsider, Lu Chongshan's old face obviously couldn't take it. Bastard. How can you talk to your father like this? You two, what are you arguing about? Can't you see that this is the time to quarrel? Yin Rui pulled Lu Chongshan away and kept signaling him with her eyes, telling him to control his temper even if it was for Xiaobao. Then, Yin Rui looked at Lu Tingxiao and tried to persuade him. Tingxiao, your father's words are a little harsh. Don't bother with him. Xiaobao is more important right now. Brother, no matter what, let's call sister-in-law over first. In case something unexpected happens, we can be prepared. Lu Jingli tried to smooth things over at the right time. Today was his father's birthday after all, and it wouldn't be good to make things too tense. Yin Rui nodded repeatedly. Lu Tingxiao, I'll ask her if she has time. What did he mean by if she had time? Even if she didn't have time, she should drop everything and rush over. What could be more important than Xiaobao? Lu Chongshan was not very happy with Lu Tingxiao's attitude, but he had to put up with it since he was asking for help. Okay, 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 call her now. Yin Rui said hurriedly. Chapter 838. Guan Ziao looked at the scene in front of her and couldn't help but feel alarmed. What was going on? Judging from the situation, why did it seem that the woman had a great influence on Xiaobao? So much so that Yin Rui and Lu Chongshan were afraid of her even though they didn't like her. She was just an actress. How could she be able to get close to Xiaobao? After all, she had heard that even the famous psychologist Qin Mufeng couldn't do anything about Xiaobao. At the same time, in Zailing's studio, after finishing a job, Ningxi went to the studio to have a look. Gong Shangze, Han Momo, and Xiao Weilon were all busy. After greeting the three of them, Ningxi called Gong Shangze to her office alone. "Boss, what can I do for you?" "Yeah." Ningxi nodded and looked at him. "Tell me what you think of Director Qiao." Gong Shangze seemed hesitant. "Tell me the truth?" Ningxi smiled helplessly. "I asked you to tell me the truth." "Okay." Gong Shangze coughed. "Let's talk about Director Qiao first. She's really cold. We didn't dare talk to her for the past few days. However, her business ability is absolutely top-notch. If it were us, it would take days of work, but she could even make a decision with just a glance. So, in the few days that she was here, our work efficiency was very fast. Basically, after the fashion week, the orders were almost finished." Ningxi breathed a sigh of relief. Then, Gong Shangze said hesitantly, But what? But, how should I put it? I can feel that her heart isn't here. She never takes the initiative to do anything except for the work at hand," Gong Shangze answered honestly. Ningxi wasn't surprised. It's rare for her to be able to do what she has done. After all, she had come here halfway. To her, this was just a mission that Qin Shengyue had assigned to her. She didn't want to be meritorious, but she did not want to make any mistakes. Apart from what she was supposed to do, she would not do anything else. Once the time limit was up, she would immediately leave. "Okay, I got the gist of it. Xiao Weilon has been a great help to us. Get along well. As for the studio, we have to pay more attention to it. We can't rely on her for everything," Ningxi said. Gong Shangze. "Understood, boss." Ningxi was talking to Gong Shangze when her phone suddenly rang. She looked at the caller ID and found it was Lu Tingxiao. In an instant, Ningxi's originally strong and resolute expression immediately became gentle and sweet. Gong Shangze could guess who it was the moment he saw Ningxi's expression. He said sensibly, "Boss, if there's nothing else, I'll go do something first." "All right, go ahead." After Gong Shangze went out, Ningxi immediately picked up the phone. "Hello, Lord Boss. Why are you calling me at this time?" "What are you doing?" Lu Tingxiao asked. His tone as gentle as water. "I'm at the studio." Chapter 839. Don't worry, Xiaobao is fine. I just can't find him. I've checked the surveillance cameras, and he hasn't left. He must still be in the old house. Lu Tingxiao replied. "What? He can't be found? Why can't he be found all of a sudden? I'll be right there. Let's talk about it later." Hearing that it was about Xiaobao, Ningxi had no time to ask more questions. She was about to leave immediately. "Be careful on the road. Don't worry. Take a taxi. Don't drive yourself." Lu Tingxiao reminded her worriedly. Apparently, he was worried that she would race again. I know. In the old house, Lu Jingli and Yin Rui were relieved to see that Lu Tingxiao had successfully called Xiaobao over. Guan Ziao forced a smile and asked casually, "It seems that Miss Ning has a good relationship with Xiaobao, right?" "Yes, our Xiaobao quite likes that girl and listens to her," Yin Rui replied after a moment of deliberation. This matter couldn't be concealed any longer. Yin Rui simply gave Guan Ziao a heads-up in advance. Hearing that, Guan Ziao's eyes flickered. She didn't expect that woman to be smarter than she had imagined. She had already established a relationship with Xiaobao. Guan Ziao sighed and said hopefully, "That's great. As long as Miss Ning is here, she can definitely find Xiaobao." Although she deliberately said so, in fact, after a little speculation, she knew that she must not have been to the old house many times. She probably didn't even go to the whole old house. The old house was so big. How could she find Xiaobao in a place she was not familiar with and without alarming the guests? There was a saying that the greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. Lu Chongshan and Yin Rui naturally thought of this as well, but apart from that, they did not have any better ideas. We can't count on an outsider. I've asked the servants to keep quiet and continue to look for him. If it doesn't work, we'll end the banquet early. Lu Chongshan said seriously. Guan Ziao couldn't help feeling shocked. Although she had been prepared, she seemed to have underestimated the importance Lu Chongshan attached to Xiaobao, the old house of the Lu family. By the time Ningxi arrived, most of the guests had arrived. The courtyard was brightly lit. She could vaguely hear melodious music and the guests' heated conversations. Tonight, the surrounding area was under martial law, so the taxi could only drive to the foot of the mountain. Fortunately, as soon as Ningxi got out of the car, she saw Lu Jingli waiting by the roadside. What's going on tonight? Lu Jingli started the engine and explained the whole story to her as he drove. That's what happened. I don't know where Xiaobao is hiding to feel sad right now. Poor child. Ningxi narrowed her eyes. There was a coldness in her eyes that didn't match her aura at all. Is Guanjichin very powerful? He's been touted as a genius since he was young. He's only 13 years old, but he's already in his third year of high school. He's going to take the college entrance examination next year and prepare to apply for Imperial City University. Of course, he definitely can't be compared to our little treasure. He can't even compare to me, okay? As they spoke, the car had already arrived at the entrance. Lu Jingli went around and opened the door for Ningxi. He scratched his head worriedly. Cici, it seems to be a little tricky this time. In the past, Xiaobao would at most hide in the attic and lock himself up. This time, I can't see him at all. I don't know where he is hiding. After all, you're not familiar with the layout of the old house. If you can't find him, don't force yourself. At most, you can ask my father to end the banquet early. Nothing is more important than Xiaobao. While Lu Jingli was muttering, Ningxi suddenly let out a soft cry. Then, she bent down with a surprised face and hugged the little fellow who rushed out of the darkness. Xiaobao? Baby, you scared Aunt Xiaoxi. Where did you go just now? Lu Jingli was dumbfounded as he looked at Xiaobao, who they couldn't find anywhere. Brother Shi, your automatic treasure hunting function is amazing. Chapter 840. At the same time, somewhere in the backyard, Lu Tingxiao, Lu Chongshan, and Yin Rui were all there. Guan Ziao was also there, surrounded by a few trembling servants. The butler was giving orders to the people on the other end of the line through a wireless walkie-talkie. Master, we still haven't found young master. Butler Xing replied with sweat all over his forehead. Lu Chongshan's face darkened. Send more people. If we send more people, the guests will be suspicious. Butler Xing looked hesitant. They told the public that Yin Rui had accidentally lost a precious necklace, so they were looking for it. But if it was just a necklace, it was unreasonable to send so many people. Moreover, none of the masters of the Lu family had shown up tonight. The guests were not fools. They might be suspicious by now. Retreat? Lu Tingxiao glanced at the time on his watch and said to Xing Wu. One asked him to send more people, and the other asked him to retreat. Xing Wu looked at Old Master Lu, and then at young Master Lu. He froze. Who should he listen to? We haven't found Xiaobao yet. Why should we retreat? Lu Chongshan was furious. Ningxi will be here soon. Lu Tingxiao said. So what if she's here? Is she a fairy? We've turned over the lawn and still can't find Xiaobao. How can she find him by herself? Lu Chongshan said impatiently. Tingxiao, Xiaobao's safety is more important. You should listen to Uncle Lu and send more people. Guan Ziao persuaded. Xingwu, what are you waiting for? Lu Chongshan urged. Xingwu was stuck between a rock and a hard place. Out of the corner of his eyes, he suddenly saw something not too far in front of him and was dumbfounded. Young master. What? Xiaobao? Where? Yin Rui and Lu Chongshan asked in unison. That looks like young master. All of a sudden, everyone looked in the direction that Xing Wu was pointing at. Then they saw Lu Jingli and Ning Shi walking in their direction. Ning Shi was carrying a child in her arms. The little boy was wearing Lu Jingli's suit jacket. He was hugging the girl's neck tightly and burying his face in her shoulder. It was a posture that only a child would have when he was extremely insecure. All of a sudden, everyone went up to greet him with a face full of surprise. Jingli, where did you find little Bao? Yan Rui was extremely excited. I didn't look for her at all. As soon as my sister-in-law appeared, Xiao Bao appeared on his own. Lu Jingli shrugged. No one had expected it to be like this. Everyone's face was filled with astonishment. In the end, it wasn't Ning Shi who found Xiao Bao. It was Xiao Bao who found her. No wonder Lu Tingxiao was so sure that Ning Shi would be able to find Xiao Bao. Clearly, Xiao Bao was in the vicinity, just that he didn't want to show himself. Now that he saw the person he wanted to see, the person he could rely on, and the person who gave him a sense of security, he naturally came out. In any case, Lu Chongshan and Yin Rui finally heaved a sigh of relief, but they did not know how to treat Ning Shi. Ning Shi didn't care about all this. She was wholeheartedly focused on little Bon. She was coaxing him softly when the little fellow suddenly popped his little head out. He held the writing board in his trembling little hand, as if he had something to say. Baby, what's wrong? Ning Shi hurriedly took the writing board. The next second, when she saw what Xiaobao wrote, her eyes instantly turned red. Xiaobao wrote on the writing board, Mom, I want to go home. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.